Welcome to Dishing Up Nutrition with licensed nutritionists and dietitians from Nutritional Weight and Wellness. We explain the connection between what you eat and how you feel. Stay tuned for practical, real-life solutions for healthier living through real food nutrition.
Slow down, you move too fast.
Welcome to Dishing Up Nutrition, brought to you by Nutritional Weight and Wellness. Well, I'm excited. We have another interesting topic this morning for you guys.
We do.
We're going to be looking at symptoms of PMS. The cramps, the mood swings, the fatigue. For so many women who are experiencing this, it can be challenging.
Yeah, debilitating.
Yeah. You know, some of the uncomfortable symptoms that these women are experiencing don't realize that a shift in their food choices can actually reduce their symptoms.
Right.
Right. So, good morning. I am Shelby Hummel. I'm a licensed nutritionist. I have a master's degree of science in applied clinical nutrition. And I am just so delighted to be in studio with Leah Wetzel this morning.
Yeah, good morning.
So both Leah and I are licensed nutritionists.
Right.
We work in different offices, unfortunately, so we don't cross paths that often.
Right.
But we love to educate people on the importance of eating real food.
We do.
So Leah, why don't you tell listeners a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I am, like Shelby had said, I'm a licensed nutritionist. And my master's degree is in clinical nutrition. And I also, I'm on the board of nutrition and dietetics for the state, and I'm on my 5th year on the board.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, it's been a really great experience, and in total, I'll be on the board for 8 years. You can serve 2 terms, so I'm on my 2nd term on the board.
So how did you initially become interested in nutrition? Because I think your story is kind of unique.
Right. Yeah. So for me, what brought me to discover nutritional weight and wellness and want to, become a employee 11 years ago. Oh my gosh, it's been 11 years. Was that I, growing up and at an early age, I had pretty poor health. And I had decided that I needed to make some changes in my life. Because, I was gaining weight very rapidly. I was almost classified as obese, and I had 2 major autoimmune conditions, a lot of inflammation. And so by deciding of knowing that I didn't know much about food and that area of focus, maybe would help with some of these issues, I decided to start to dig into it. And I cut out major things, cut out soda, I cut out juice, a lot of junk food. Oh, I love cereal.
Lots of inflammatory things.
A lot of inflammatory things. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't realize, at the time that was, causing all that inflammation. And the good news was I lost 50 pounds. And through that journey, I was able to sustain that weight loss. When I came to work at Nutritional Weight and Wellness, though, I was having issues with asthma. That was one of my major autoimmune issues, and using my inhaler regularly. I, decided too as a further discovery is working with Dar, of course, right?
Our sweet Dar.
The expert, and trying to figure that piece out, and working with Nutritional Weight and Wellness, I changed my nutrition, and ultimately it changed my entire life. Dar encouraged me to stop eating certain inflammatory foods that I didn't realize for me were inflammatory. Like
what were some of those, Leah?
Dairy was a big, dairy products I still incorporated in healthy versions of them. But for me, that was a big inflammatory issue for my asthma. So cutting out dairy, I also cut out gluten, and it cleared up my asthma completely. And I was able to get off all my inhalers and medications. And now that was 11 years ago, and I've been able to sustain that.
So you're happy, healthy, both on the inside and out. Yeah.
All the above.
Looking at how those foods affected your immune system. To me, it sounds like, the inflammatory soda, the juice, the dairy products.
Yep. That was like the first layer, and that really helped with weight loss and other forms reduction of inflammation. Yep.
So some of the other things that you cut out or you just upgraded, so to
Yes.
speak, were, cereal,
Yep.
bread, some of those gluten things. So
Yep.
what do you eat now if you're not eating cereal for breakfast or if you're not having a slice of toast?
Right. Yeah. So for me, for breakfast, I do a lot with, whole real nutrients of, I do a lot with breakfast sausages. I'm just thinking about today. So for breakfast, I had breakfast sausages, and we will often have, leftover sweet potato, I'll buy like half a sweet potato and broccoli with butter on it. That is a very nourishing breakfast and keeps me full, keeps me my inflammation down. Great start to the day.
Well, and those sorts of foods that you had mentioned, Leah, the breakfast sausage,
Yep.
the sweet potatoes with some butter, those are the types of foods that are going to help reduce that inflammation so you don't have a poorly functioning immune system.
Right.
I think that's probably been one of the most surprising things for my clients is the effect that food has on their immune system. But we're going to take a whole nother look at how food affects hormones today.
Exactly. Yeah.
So one of the things that we definitely want to talk about today is how PMS symptoms are related to our food choices and some of our other habits as well.
Right.
So as nutritionists, we are looking at the foods that you're eating for breakfast, the foods that you're eating for lunch. It may surprise you that 3 out of 4 menstruating women experience some form of PMS symptoms every month.
Yes.
In fact, some of my clients actually welcome menopause because they want to be free of those awful symptoms
that they've been having, since teenage years.
Are you seeing any teenage clients with severe cramping?
Yeah.
Heavy flow?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like I've been seeing more of those recently.
Very intense symptoms. I feel like it's happening at earlier and earlier ages too. Yep. And there's a wide variety of symptoms ranging from, it could be mood swings to breast tenderness to insomnia to food cravings, irritability, depression, fatigue, constipation, diarrhea, all of these things, and more could be tied to PMS symptoms. No one person is the same, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has their own unique set of symptoms. If we look at all of that, though, that's all inflammatory and under root cause, right?
Yeah.
So inflammation is always, part of that.
Yeah,
component.
building on that idea.
Yep. So what symptom or symptoms are you experiencing? Most women experience mild to moderate symptoms, while 20 to 30% of women experience moderate to severe symptoms. Then there are about the 8% of women whose symptoms are so severe that these symptoms interfere with their lives.
Well, I unfortunately have a friend who would definitely fall into that 8%.
Let's hear about that.
I was telling you a little bit more about that before we started this morning, but I was talking to this friend of mine and I just said to her, I know you've struggled with your cycle. Tell me a little bit more about that. And she was just saying that the week before she's supposed to get her menstrual cycle, she experiences really severe nausea.
Yeah.
To the point where she doesn't really want to eat anything.
Right.
Which makes the rest of the day really hard for energy.
Yep.
Makes it really challenging for sleep. But then the first or the second day of her new cycle, she gets really intense cramping.
Sure.
Heavy flow. I can only imagine how challenging that would be to have such intense cramping that you're getting sick.
Yeah.
I mean, such intense gut pain that, you're
and
just
this is month after month. I'm
bent
guessing.
over in pain. Yeah. And I consider myself very lucky after
Not bad,
talking to this friend.
Yeah. And I have clients where, monthly or bi-monthly, because your periods can change from month to month. They miss work or school a day or two because of some PMS symptom, whether, that's migraines or cramping, or just extreme fatigue, that it really can be debilitating.
Yeah.
And so this is something that's important for as a discussion and trying to come up with some ideas of what we can do to help with that.
Yeah.
But it's break time already.
Okay.
Yeah. So you were listening to Dishing Up Nutrition, and we are discussing the hormonal imbalances that cause PMS symptoms. If you are experiencing a lot of PMS cramping or even any muscle cramping, we suggest taking 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate at bed. A leading cause of muscle cramping and PMS cramping is having a deficiency of magnesium. And today, 3 out of 4 people, or 75% of Americans, are deficient in the mineral magnesium. If you have questions for us today, please call the studio at 651-641-1071.
Hey, Cravings, what's up? Not you, 'cause I'm taking you down. Oh, didn't see that coming? Because I've always buckled under your pressure? Well, this is my house now. So bring it, ice cream. You want a piece of me, cake? I see you in the pantry, potato chips. See, this super chick got herself to nutritional weight and wellness and learned that cravings aren't a willpower thing, more like a blood sugar, mineral deficiency, digestive thing. And eating in balance slays the beast. Animal protein. Healthy fats. Vegetable carbs. The temptation taming trifecta. Make you shrink and me shine. Do I feel deprived? Not when I'm armed with my nutritional weight and wellness num-num chucks. So step off, Cravings, or I'll swing you into oblivion. I guess I better clean this up.
Learn how to conquer your cravings with the Nutrition for Weight Loss program at Nutritional Weight and Wellness, on-site or online. Visit weightandwellness.com.
Welcome back to Dishing Up Nutrition. You know, as I was preparing for the show about PMS, I was referring to Dr. Christiane Northrup's book, The Wisdom of Menopause, and discovered that many women who are experiencing some of those serious PMS symptoms that we were talking about will no doubt have more severe menopausal symptoms. With that in mind, I want to let you listeners know about an upcoming seminar that we have. On Saturday, November 10th, we are offering our popular menopause survival seminar at our Maple Grove location.
Yeah.
So come hang out, bring a friend, sister, neighbor. Dar, Joanne, and Chris will lead you through some of the symptoms and, of course, some real food solutions. Be sure to call early to reserve your seat. You can go to our website, weightandwellness.com, or you can call 651-699-3438 to sign up or to have any questions answered.
It's a great seminar. It's just packed full of all sorts of great information and, a lot of great suggestions of how to deal with, your symptoms or preventatively, This is something that, as I'm etching towards that time of my life, unfortunately, these are things that I'm thinking about of how can I prepare myself in the best way for a good transition into menopause.
Transition, not pulling the rug out from under you.
Exactly. I had some, loved ones in my family who had some pretty significant issues with that transition. And so I'm thinking about that. And a lot of what we're discussing today in relation to, hormones and PMS symptoms, can also, again, like you said, trickle over into perimenopause and menopause. So
definitely. I would say one of the biggest ones that I see a connection through the years is the insomnia.
Yes.
Maybe sleep starts to deteriorate, in the 30s and the 40s, and then it really whiz bam is challenging. So
and so if one of your PMS symptoms is that you have troubles with sleeping, maybe around ovulation, so mid-cycle or before menses. Now, dependent on your age, if you're in your late 30s or 40s, that's something of consideration, to work
definitely,
on.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So before we went to break, we were talking about some of the more common signs and symptoms of PMS. But as a nutritionist, when I'm working with a client with PMS, I'm looking at the symptoms and I'm trying to figure out, well, what could be the root cause?
Yeah.
Right. Not just a Band-Aid, not just, kind of take away their symptoms, but still have problems underneath, but looking, how can we put together a real food plan that's going to help rebalance the body?
So maybe a Band-Aid fix would be like put on birth control or something that would regulate out the hormones, maybe in a medical model, but it's not fixing the underlying root of what's going on.
That's a great example, Leah. Yeah. And we know that PMS is a hormonal imbalance. So we have to say, what is the real cause of your PMS?
Yeah.
One of the basic explanations that I like to use when I'm working with clients is, your hormones become unbalanced. It's kind of like someone's sitting at the bottom of the teeter-tot.
Yes.
And we have that imbalance of estrogen to progesterone. So when you have too much estrogen and too little progesterone in your body, that's when your hormones become unbalanced.
Exactly.
So then the next question, Leah, we have to ask is, and I'm sure you're asking this, is, well, how do we fix this hormonal imbalance? How do we get that estrogen and progesterone back in balance?
Yeah, so, what's causing the hormonal imbalance? Yeah, so digging into that, there are many reasons for this hormonal imbalance. Here's another statement that may shock many of you. Hormonal imbalances mostly go back to what women are eating, right?
Really? That's probably a new idea for many of our listeners.
Right. And for the past, 50 to 60 years, women have been taught to eat lots of processed carbs, right? Mm-hmm. And no fat.
Popcorn.
Yes.
Rice cakes.
Right. Yeah. Zero fat. Sugar and processed carbs encourage the production of those toxic type estrogens, which can lead to hormonal problems. A diet high in sugar and processed carbs promotes those hormone imbalances.
Right. And you were talking initially about how inflammation contributed to poor immune function for you when we started out our show. But inflammation can also promote more of these hormonal imbalances.
Exactly.
So that inflammatory effect of soda, of juice, of popcorn.
Yep.
So, of course, there are other lifestyle habits that can cause problems with hormonal imbalances. One would be, an excessive consumption of caffeine or alcohol.
Yes.
Growing up, I didn't really like coffee.
Oh, yeah.
No surprise.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I was in college that I was like, maybe I need to check this out.
Yeah,
but
right.
Unfortunately, I was at the Apple store trying to get a device fixed yesterday. And as we were waiting, I was shocked to see the number of young adults, teenagers even, with these, I don't even know the size, but it's probably like 20 to 24 ounces. Yeah, grande, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But talk about caffeine, sugar.
Right.
Probably some other bad fats in there.
Yeah. A lot of those sugary drinks are really, those young teenagers just love. And the caffeine levels now that are found in some of your standard store-bought coffees, it's excessive.
Yeah.
High. Yeah.
And looking at, maybe once in a while, that lifestyle choice may not be a big driver of inflammation or hormonal imbalances, but for some of these teens, this is what they're doing each and every day.
Yeah.
And no surprise, on past shows, Leah, we've talked about how we have an increase in teen anxiety.
Yes.
An increase in depression. And surprisingly, more of our clients, more of these young women are coming in experiencing some of those PMS symptoms.
Right. What are some other factors that can cause hormonal imbalances? Certainly ongoing stress, lack of sleep, the hormones in dairy products, we talked a little bit about this early on about that connection for me. That was one of the foods I cut out for reducing my inflammation for asthma. But there's a lot of other things in that dairy that's inflammatory too, like the excess hormones, and also from these toxic pesticides that we're all being exposed to now. This has all been an, uprise in the last 30 years in our farming, that these types of chemicals we use for your conventional farming are known as xenoestrogen,
meaning that they're a bad or a toxic
chemical that can mimic
estrogen.
hormone in our bodies. So these type of pesticides can lead to more toxic estrogen in our bodies, right?
Yeah. Well, one of the things, Leah, that I can talk about is how giving up conventional dairy products has helped me to reduce some of what I would consider hormonal acne.
Yeah.
Things along the jawline, kind of that really painful, kind of flows with my cycle, that sort of thing. But I would say reducing the amount of dairy and really looking at high quality dairy, organic, raw cheeses if I can find it, but really prioritizing getting an organic grass-fed butter, organic whipping cream.
Yes. Isn't it just delicious though too?
So delicious.
Yes.
But for me, it's like, okay, where is that inflammation coming from? And that seemed to be a big driver of inflammation for me.
Yeah, and what we talk about a lot on the show, when we are going to be consuming dairy products, we want to be consuming the full fat versions of, if we're going to drink milk, we want to be drinking full fat milk. If we're wanting yogurt, we want to be having full fat yogurt. But, when we look at those products, if we're in the conventional world, getting the regular conventional milk, that has a lot of the hormones and residues that we're talking about. So the organic versions, they are voided of that, right?
Yep.
Well, it's break time again.
Well, tell us more.
All right. So you're listening to Dishing Up Nutrition. Have you ever gone to your local big box hardware store to buy a mousetrap and was left with 3 bags of candy and devoured 1 bag even before leaving the parking lot? Or while you are at the grocery shopping, you feast on countless samples. There's always samples, isn't there, at the grocery store? Knowing full well that the popcorn, the chips, the cakes, the cookies, the pizzas are not on your eating plan. However, you've convinced yourself it's okay because they're such small portions. But then you keep going back for more. Oh, yes. Sugar and bad fats are everywhere you turn, especially in the grocery stores to promote more sales. We all have habits holding us back. We address those habits and much more in our Nutrition for Weight Loss series. Maybe our fall series is exactly what you need to move forward. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Dishing Up Nutrition. I know when I was a teenager and even in my early 20s, I had no idea what was contributing to health problems. For many women, the lack of information about how their diet and their lifestyle is connected to their hormones and their health, it's sad, kind of.
Right.
So I would encourage any of you out there listening, share this information from our show with a friend, a daughter, even a granddaughter or a niece. Listening to podcasts, it's so easy. You can spend 45 minutes walking the dog, or I often listen to podcasts when I'm doing dishes because it kind of takes me away.
Or if I'm cooking or prepping my food. I do that for clients too. I always say, listen to our show while you're already working on your goals of prepping your food for the week.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one way to become well-informed and to lay that base of knowledge about real food and healthy habits. So we've been told our podcasts are life-changing. We hear it, and we love to hear it.
Yeah, it's really helping.
So let's build a community of like-minded nutrition listeners here in Minnesota, here in the United States, or throughout the world, really. Yeah. People can go to our website at weightandwellness.com. You can click on podcast. You can even search by topic. It's a really easy way to listen and learn.
Yes, it's really great. So before break, we were talking about what are, some other contributing factors that cause hormonal imbalances. We talked about stress, and we talked about lack of sleep. We talked about high sugar foods.
Yeah.
And no fat, low fat eating. Dairy products, we kind of ended on our conventional dairy products and the toxic hormones and pesticides too.
Yeah. So Leah, 75% of women with PMS are suffering from headaches, mood swings, bloating, fatigue, cramps, and other problems that can interfere with their relationships, their work, school life, and in general, kind of enjoying life.
Yeah.
Right. So these are some PMS symptoms that can occur 10 to 14 days before menstruation, and even for 3 to 7 days after their cycle begins. So as women get older and move into their late 30s, maybe, 38, 39, oftentimes they see that these symptoms continue to get worse.
Right. If you were struggling or suffering with PMS, let's take a look at your diet. Some of my clients who have PMS start their day off maybe with a bagel and coffee, and then they have a muffin and coffee on their break. They eat fast food for lunch, have chocolate and soda or coffee for an afternoon snack. And for dinner, they eat pizza and either with a soda or with beer. I certainly hope you can clearly see this menu that can lead to PMS. If you eat these types of foods often and you want to get rid of your PMS symptoms, you will need to change your eating and some of your lifestyle habits.
So, Leah, if you have someone who is sitting down with you for the first time and, they're starting their day off with a bagel and coffee,
yes.
Maybe they're snacking on a muffin mid-morning, or they find themselves wanting pretzels or popcorn for a snack. In the grand scheme of an entire day, how do you motivate them to make these changes?
Right. Well, we talk about these correlations that we are talking about today to bring light of they're having a lot of cravings, and they're having a lot of cravings for sugar and carbs. So how can we get to the root of getting rid of those cravings? Because that's key in order for them to adhere to eating healthy, balanced diet, right? And we set up a meal plan that encourages eating lots of whole, real healthy food. So carbohydrates coming from vegetables and healthy fruits, and maybe, I love like more concentrated vegetables of like root vegetables and sweet potatoes.
Parsnips are my favorite.
Those are really good for hormone balancing. And protein is critical for those carb cravings, right? So a lot of protein throughout the day, and you need that healthy fat. So butter and those saturated fats are great. Coconut oil, bacon fat. These are important components for balancing their blood sugar, keeping their cravings stable, and they're eating, every few hours to keep their blood sugar.
So when you're working with them, you help them kind of break this all down. You give them a plan. You're not only laying that foundation of, well, this is why we're going to do this, but then also helping them put together some realistic ideas of what they could eat.
Right. For them, what works for them. And once you kind of understand these connections, as I've made these connections myself, it's powerful.
Yeah.
When you see how you feel better, when you eat a certain way, you feel worse when you eat another way.
Yeah. We say there's no one size fits all plan.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. So, looking at all of this, hormone imbalances are really an epidemic, aren't they, these days? Yeah. While many things can contribute to these imbalances in your sex hormones, the good news is that most women can fix these imbalances without medications.
Yeah.
These imbalances are not the result of bad genetics or bad luck, right? They are due to maybe a buildup over time. This is not one bad meal. This is something of a habit of eating a certain way for a very, usually a long stretch of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so trying to get to the root of some of these bad habits. So Shelby, what would be an example of something to focus on to help with reducing PMS symptoms?
One of the things that that I would consider a habit that we would want to change is drinking too much alcohol.
Yes.
So what does that really mean? What is too much alcohol?
Yeah, when somebody comes to me and they're having hormonal imbalances, and I see on their intake health history that maybe they're drinking, maybe not excessively, but every day, they'll have their glass of wine or two at night as a ritual every day. And I find if you're drinking regularly, let's just say 5 to 7 days out of the week, you're having some alcohol. That's too much for your liver. That's too much processing and trying to detoxify the alcohol. And it can affect your hormone balance. It's not able to do all these other important jobs when it's having to work on detoxing alcohol and also to the blood sugar impact that may have.
Yeah.
So I will say, that if this is something you're going to incorporate in, maybe once, maybe twice a week, maybe not every week.
Yeah.
You have a glass, of wine, and a serving is about 4 ounces of wine. That's
the important part.
Yeah. Try to moderate their consumption of alcohol. And I've had some good successes with people feeling better, losing weight, better hormone balance, better sleep at night.
Better sleep is huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Less cravings when we reduce the alcohol intake. Yeah.
What would be another bad habit that you would consider to minimize those hormone imbalances?
Well, for one, for sure, if this is at all, this would be, probably a really number one is smoking. If you smoke, that's a big endocrine disruptor and causing hormonal imbalances and a lot of inflammation. So cutting out smoking is critical.
And not just inflammation in the lungs, right? Inflammation throughout the body with those toxins.
Yeah.
Well, bad habit number 3 that I would consider, Leah, would be eating a high sugar processed foods diet. So, we talked, of course, about the bagel, the cereal, the toast. Those sorts of things.
Yep. And reflecting back, on my childhood, I would eat cereal every meal if I could. I love cereal. High sugar, not realizing this hidden sugar.
Okay. Skim milk?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Typical.
Even more sugar, right? Yeah. Another one, bad habit number 4, I would say I often see with clients that is a contributing factor to hormone regulation is drinking too much caffeine.
So not just soda, but coffee, some tea.
Energy drinks sometimes, especially with the younger population. Too much caffeine definitely can play a role and causing hormonal imbalances. So I'll often work on goal setting around getting off soda, getting off energy drinks. And if you're really, some people, again, with those PMS symptoms, they have sensitive sleep. If insomnia or poor sleep is part of it, we really try to fix that. The caffeine intake, maybe 1 cup of 8 ounce of coffee in the morning with heavy whipping cream in it. And some people, they need to cut it down to just maybe green tea.
Yeah. Reduce that amount of caffeine. Right. Well, when we think about caffeine, we look back at, what organ system has to process and detoxify that? And we go back to
the liver. Yep.
Right.
The liver. And especially coffee, if you're going to have coffee and you're having hormonal symptoms, organic coffee again, because it's one of the highest pesticide-ridden crops. So, pesticides if you're doing non-organic coffee. And it's it's the
second highest sprayed crop, behind tobacco, if I remember correctly. So, pretty important to be seeking out that organic coffee if you are consuming coffee.
Yes. So balancing your hormones is a process. It doesn't happen overnight, right? It takes some time.
And if you feel overwhelmed, maybe this is the time for you to set aside some time for self-care, setting up an appointment with one of our nutritional weight and wellness nutritionist or dietitian. We can help you not only learn what is going to influence your hormones, but we're also going to give you some practical tips so you can implement these things, right? Exactly. You learn a little bit more, you practice a little bit more.
Exactly. So we'll get more into this again after break. You're listening to Dishing Up Nutrition. We have a great show coming up next week. Cassie and Joanne will be talking about the nutrition connections to brain health. They are addressing issues of attention, focus, and even OCD. Just in time for back to school. Check out the Food Connection to ADHD seminar on Saturday, September 29th at our St. Paul Weight and Wellness location. If you have questions about that, you can call the office at 651-699-3438.
Welcome back to Dishing Up Nutrition. If you have habits that are holding you back from being your real self, I encourage you to sign up for our September Nutrition for Weight Loss series. Start developing some habits that will move you closer to your goals, right? Habits that are going to move you forward. So many people these days fret over their weight, how their clothes fit, but they continue with habits that hold them back from living the life that they want. So, step into a place that's going to move you forward. Take control of how you feel on a daily basis. 1 hour a week for 12 weeks is a great place to start. You can call 651-699-3438 to sign up today.
Great. Well, Shelby, we have a caller on the line. Maddie, thanks for calling Dishing Up Nutrition. You have a question today?
Yeah. So I had a partial hysterectomy about 4 years ago. I'm 35 years old. And I lost like 25 pounds. I'm 6 foot and I weigh about 110 pounds.
Yeah.
And I can't seem to put weight on. And I don't know if it has something to do with that or what I can do. I'm kind of at a loss. And no doctor can tell me what I should do.
Right. So was there, give me a sense of diet. So what sort of, from our discussion a little bit today, I
eat a lot of, I eat very healthy and I do the high fat, or I do whole milk. I do cheese. I do the whole thing. I do a lot of vegetables, chicken, steak. But I can't seem to put weight on. And my doctor told me it's unhealthy for me to be 110 pounds at 6 foot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen some of this with these big hormonal shifts where there can be a change. One suggestion I would say, if it's not been checked, is to look at your thyroid.
They looked at that. It's fine.
Okay. They've done the full panel. They looked at the whole, and antibodies too. They looked at your antibodies. Because sometimes with these, okay. So that looks all, because sometimes some people can get a little hyperthyroid after an issue like that. And that is a good thing to rule out. And I would say gut too. So I've had a few clients where things have shifted post that hormonal shift, where maybe they have more of a sensitivity. Maybe it's not showing up for you as a GI symptom.
Like digestive.
Yeah. But where maybe, for example, I've had a couple of clients where they became underweight and they had underlyingly a sensitivity to dairy, for example, and cutting out that particular food and working on some good gut healing, they started to gain a normal weight again.
Because really what that food sensitivity was doing, it was preventing them from absorbing the nutrients. It sounds like you are eating high quality nutrients, but maybe you're not actually absorbing them. That would be one thing. And maybe it makes sense for you to sit down with a nutritionist and kind of go through the sleep, the gut health, that sort of thing.
Because my doctors can't tell me anything. Yeah. They just said, you're just not gaining weight.
Yeah. I have a client almost like exactly your profile of what you described, and she was running a little hyperthyroid, which wasn't clinically diagnosed that way, but it's not always the same case. But she had food sensitivities, and she gained healthy weight. We always talk about weight loss, but sometimes people need to gain some weight to be healthy too, and that can be a food contributor as well.
Well, so why don't you give our office a call this morning? If you have a pen, it's 651-699-3438. 38. And Leah Wetzel sees clients in our Mendota Heights office. She would be, someone that I think could help you put together an individualized
You too,
plan.
Shelby.
Yeah,
I know you could help too. So
Yes, it's very frustrating.
yeah, really.
And I listen to you guys on my way to work on Saturdays.
Oh, great. I'm glad that you listen. That's really great. Yeah. So there's a lot to dig in there. I hope we're able to meet, and I'll definitely be able to help. So
Absolutely.
awesome.
Thanks for your
Thank
call.
you. Yes, great. So, I want to, before we end today, just kind of recap some of the food correlations that we talked about that are helpful for helping rebalance hormones. So really what we talked about is we want to eat real food. So real proteins, that means, looking at grass-fed beef and chicken and eggs and salmon, real vegetables. We'll get a little bit more into that, but specifically there's certain types of cruciferous vegetables that are really helpful for rebalancing hormones. So broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, and additionally, I said root vegetables too. Your sweet potato, your parsnips, your carrots are helpful for progesterone and fat. So butter and coconut oil and olive oil.
Full fat dairy stuff.
Full fat. Yeah.
And many people find it's helpful to concentrate on what they can eat.
Yes.
Right? What can we concentrate in terms of real foods that are going to help support the detoxification of those harmful estrogens, but also bring in some good quality nutrients for hormonal health?
Exactly. Yes. So could you substitute vegetables for breads and pasta? So cruciferous vegetables such as cabbage and broccoli and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts are the best for detoxifying estrogen. One of my favorites is cauliflower rice. It's been a staple in our house lately.
It's so yummy.
Yeah, it's great. It's healthy. It's low carbohydrate, and it's a great replacement for rice. We'll do that a lot, in replacement when we have dish, for example, taco night. I'll do cauliflower rice instead of regular rice.
I always like to tell people cauliflower rice is so easy because you can get it in the freezer section already, riced up.
I get it at Costco or you can get it at Trader Joe's. Yep.
And I hate to admit this, but Tyler, the first time you had cauliflower rice, he didn't even know it.
Oh, yeah.
I did half white rice. I did half cauliflower rice.
He didn't know.
And he doesn't like cauliflower. And he said, I would be able to tell if it was in there. And I said, okay, I'm going to keep my mouth shut because he's eating cauliflower and doesn't know it.
Right.
Getting some of those benefits.
Yeah, I do that for my kids too. I mix it with hash browns. I'll mix it in soups. Anywhere where I think there needs a little bit more support with vegetables, I'll sneak it in there and nobody knows.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Well, and when we think about the cruciferous vegetables, like you said, the broccoli, the kale, the cauliflower, that sort of stuff is helping detoxify estrogen in the liver. It contains a compound that helps the liver to remove those pesticides, the excess harmful hormones, and eliminate them from the body.
And I would say too, when we're working with women and men too that have excess estrogen in their system, I will set goals of, okay, so for vegetables, you're consuming 2 cups a day. So how can we evolve this to more? In some cases, people love vegetables. I would say a really great support in the diet would be 7 to 9 cups of cruciferous.
Yeah, that would be, one of my favorites would be doing Brussels sprouts or, having that broccoli cauliflower mix.
Right.
Leah, what do you do if someone's not a big vegetable lover? I often recommend the powdered fruits and greens. I think they're called dynamic fruits and greens.
Right.
They're really great at helping to detoxify because they're just packed with really vegetable and
like
and
20
fruit rich.
servings per scoop.
Yeah.
Or so. Yeah. And that's good for all of what we're talking about as a start point. And I said with my own story, I didn't grow up loving vegetables. I ate all just processed sugar carbohydrates that we talked about that lead to hormonal disruption.
And now you're a veggie queen.
I do. I love them. And so it's a journey. It's a process. So even though you say, oh, I hate Brussels sprouts. Well, okay. I did too. Maybe what you consider to do is try them again as an adult if you didn't like them as a kid and add fat to them. Roast them in the oven with some fat, bacon
fat.
Bacon and Brussels sprouts are a marriage, aren't
Yes.
they? Like they just go together. So there, as an adult, I've really evolved to loving vegetables. And if you're at 1 cup a day, you start for 2, and you just make that a habit. And
So, Leah, let's kind of take that Brussels sprout and say, you could serve that with a steak or some salmon, maybe have some sweet potato with a little butter on there. That would be a really great dinner for balancing hormones.
it would be. Yep. And you could even, again, like that is something I could have for breakfast too. Or lunch. Often I'll make twice as much as I need for dinner. So I have my lunch the next day. Any time of the day, what you described would be a really great meal. Well, our goals at Nutritional Weight and Wellness is to help each and every person experience better health through eating real food. It's a simple yet powerful message. Eating real food is life-changing. I want to thank all of you today for listening, and I want to thank you too, Shelby, for being on the show today. And I hope everybody has a great weekend. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Dishing Up Nutrition. If you enjoy this podcast, please share your favorite episodes with a friend or leave a review on iTunes, Stitcher, or iHeartRadio. The content and opinions expressed are those of the hosts or presenters. They are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. Product statements have not been evaluated by the FDA.